Hello, and welcome to a Creepypasta story. Let's get started. Where I'm from, we have middle school graduations that the parents and staff always make a bigger deal of than the kids actually graduating. Each class has an area behind the sports field where we bury time capsules to be unearthed and reopened at the 10-year mark. Though I didn't care at all for the people in attendance, it definitely sparked an interest in me to seek out more of these capsules. I began reading stories of people finding boxes buried in the woods with a century-old bottle of whiskey inside, and a note with instructions to leave for the next finder. I daydreamed more and more often of finding one on my own, maybe leaving a little something of mine aside for whoever came across it after me, just to have the experience. Nothing turned up for 12 years, but that never really deterred me from seeking one out if I had the free time. My grandparents passed away shortly after I entered high school, less than 2 years apart. They left behind a very vague will. Their wishes that their children would either take the furniture left behind for themselves or sell it if no one had the space. Their house would be put up for auction too, with all the additions my grandfather had made over the years, including a huge 2-story back deck and a wood shop behind the garage. Of course, I was recruited into helping clear the house, grumbling my teenage angsty grumbles all the way. My task was clearing the closets. Now, I don't have a blueprint, but I'll try to describe their bedroom the best way I can. It took up most of the attic. Yes, the attic itself. Surprisingly, the bedroom was quite roomy, even with the slanted ceilings and a tiny circular window. Big enough to fit a small bedroom and 2 walk-in closets, along with plenty of room for the king-size bed frame. Once you reach the top of the stairs, you have to turn completely around and walk a good 50 feet or so to get to the other end of the attic. At the top step, however, on the left was my grandmother's closet. She always loved looking nice, so it was hard to move around, even with how spacious it was. "You can never be overdressed for an occasion," she would say as she flipped through the pristinely organized yet very crowded jumble of sweaters and dresses. This closet also had yet another door, to the room we were told not to enter. I had gone inside once, and got the switch for a little display of disobedience. I was about 6, I think, so it had been a very long time since I even thought about stepping foot in there again. No one around to whoop me if I get caught, I thought, and opened the small door with not even a crack. I'm pretty sure the room hadn't changed a bit since I was a kid. Stuffy, incredibly stuffy, mothball smell everywhere. One thing I hadn't noticed in my younger years was, surprise, another door. This one, however, was tucked into the corner of the wall, barely a few feet high, so I had to stoop to get through. As uncomfortable and suffocating as the sewing room was, it was nothing compared to what was beyond the door. The light from behind me fell in to show a small section of rotten wooden floorboards, with stairs leading down to the blackness that were equally decrepit. I was certainly not expecting to find something like this, and I knew that I had to explore it. Nobody had ever mentioned this room before, and if my family is known for anything, it's definitely not keeping secrets. Untouched artifacts, I thought, pulling out my phone to use the screen light. I didn't want to risk getting asked a bunch of questions if I went back for a real flashlight, so that would just have to do. At first, I was unsure if the floor or the stairs would hold my weight. They certainly seemed to sink just a tiny bit if I stepped too heavily, so I tiptoed down to the darkness, grasping onto the wall for non-existent support if I fell through. The atmosphere was shocking. My grandparents had always kept a very tidy house, but this was almost nothing but cobwebs and dust on every surface, and some sort of rug on the floor that squished when I walked on it. I had felt that it was an even better sign. Clearly no one had been down here for ages. I pulled the collar of my shirt over my nose and mouth and turned the corner. The first room I came to was by far the cleanest, if I could call it that. It contained only a few framed paintings of people I'd probably seen in history books, 1 or 2 hanging haphazardly on the wall and the rest on a small table just below them. I wasn't planning on taking anything back, never have, if I ever found something like this, so I just snapped a picture and walked on. A hallway stretched far against the back wall where it had made a sharp right turn, almost the same dimensions as the rooms that bulged out just a tiny bit along the corridor. These rooms contained little else, but after turning the corner and making a left turn, followed immediately by a right, another right, and a left, I found myself staring dumbfounded at all the things from my childhood that had gone missing. The radio flyer wagon that my cousins and I used to pull each other around in, the rocking horse my grandfather built for me, even the wagon full of dear ones, my favorite old book as a toddler, Puppy Too Small. I couldn't fathom why they were down here. Someone had been down here recently, well, recently as in the last 20 years, give or take a few holidays. What else is here? Why was it here? They had a perfectly good basement. Why not put the old toys there like normal people? Perplexed and not yet done exploring, I moved on, bound to only tell my cousins and confidants of what I had found. The last room was before me. This room had a door, unlike the others, which just melted into each other along the dingy hallway. It wasn't locked exactly, but there was a latch on the door that made it impossible to open from the inside. I pulled the door open and gagged. The smell was terrible, a mixture of old socks and bad BO that my shirt and collar couldn't even ward off. Once I was done dry heaving, I looked up and noticed that this room had a light. I clicked on it expecting to see more of what I had been touring, but it wasn't that at all. 2 small, very dirty mattresses were slumped against one another in the corner, stained with gods know how many different types of bodily fluids. Good thing we hadn't eaten lunch yet. Along the back wall, though, and continuing around the corner of the room, were chests, dozens of them, all different sizes, shapes, types, and colors. There was even one shaped like an old toy box that had made its way through our family's generations. Was this it? Was this what they had been hiding? What was in them? Money? Priceless heirlooms? Eagerly, I pulled the first one off the heavy shelf, shaking it a little bit to see if I could hear anything inside that would give me a clue. Not much motion, hardly any noise. I must have wrapped the valuables in cloth or something to keep them from breaking. Again, my intention was definitely not to take whatever was inside, but I certainly got the thrill I was looking for. A small swaddled bundle lay inside, but I went completely numb. I took a few shaky steps back from the trunk and tried to tell myself I hadn't seen what I had just seen. I began to hyperventilate. I had already come this far, trembling. I had looked back at the trunk on the floor to confirm that it was really there. The remains weren't even skeletal. The infant had been mummified. His little cheeks almost looked puffy still, like a newborn. 1,000 thoughts had been racing through my head. I have to tell someone. No, that'll just cause panic and hysteria. I have to get out of here. I have to leave. Who baby is that? Or rather, who baby was that? How long had it been here? Did my grandparents put it there? I gazed weakly at the rest of the boxes and chests, aware they must have held the same contents. There were so many of them, so many little ones just laying here, in this decaying jail cell of a house plan. I couldn't leave them. They'd been here for so long, just left here. God, what was I thinking? I gotta go. They're corpses, for Christ's sakes, and lots of them. I was not about to get involved in whatever trouble this would bring, both legally and from my family. I stumbled backwards out of the doorway and didn't face forward until I reached the first turn back to the stairwell. I just left there. Oh God, why? My grandparents were absolutely not the type of people to do something like this. They were very heavily Roman Catholic and strictly pro-life. I couldn't imagine this being their work. Christ. How long has this been here? I shook my head in an attempt to clear the disturbing thoughts and quicken my pace. When I reached the stairs again, tried my very best to maintain the structural integrity of this hellhole I wandered into while trying to get out of here as fast as possible. I had to think, logically, what was my next step? My next step turned out to be the shutting door to the stairs behind me and doing my best to conceal its presence. Nobody else had come up to the bedroom, so I was able to go about my assigned tasks and cool myself down. By the time I scrubbed my hands with any abrasive material I could find, I stumbled into the kitchen for lunch. Nobody could tell anything was wrong. Well, at least if they could, they were polite enough to not say anything. I still haven't told anybody. I don't know if I could anymore. Yes, hello officer. I came across several mummified infant corpses a decade ago in a house my family used to live in. Yeah, I'm sure that would go over nicely. Another family has since moved in. I doubt they found what I had found. If they did, it would be national news. I hope and pray it stays that way. Hey you guys, so I've been pretty busy. I just moved into a new house today, so I've been packing and moving around and stuff. It's been a lot, so I hadn't really been making any videos this past week because of that, but I will have one tomorrow. And if you like the video, like, share, and subscribe, and thanks for watching. And lastly, you may be watching me, but who's watching you?